Okay, so this is a quick demo on how you can get started for your Talavera cross. You will be using your loop carving tools, and as you can see, they come in different shapes and sizes. And you will also be using your needle tool, a bowl of water, and your sponge. Okay, so you're gonna go ahead and roll out a fairly thick piece of slab. I would say 1/4 of an inch thick. And then you're gonna begin by measuring out the length of your cross. Remember, one of the requirements is for it to be no shorter than 6 inches. So what I started out doing is creating a straight line at the top so that I can begin my measurement from there. And instead of making mine 6 inches, I'm actually gonna make it a little bigger, and I'm gonna make it 8 inches in height. So I marked the measurement at 8 inches, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut another straight line. And I'm gonna set that clay aside. I've got the 8-inch height. Next, I'm going to measure out my width. So I would like my cross to be around 2 inches in width. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark at the 1 and the 2, kind of eyeball, align it, and do the same thing at the bottom. 2 inches. And then instead of cutting all the way down, I'm gonna stop around 2 inches, give or take, because we still need to cut out the arms of the cross. So I measured it roughly around 2 inches on the side. So a 6-inch horizontal measurement, 2-inch width. Now I encourage you when you're first getting your measurements, you just want to draw a thin line over your slab. Don't make any final cuts until you are sure. Now you can cut with confidence once you've got your shape down. Now you've got your cutout. Next, I kind of just went over my edges and I smoothed it out. Notice how my clay is still very flexible. I want to dry it a little bit more so that when I begin to design and carve into it, it's not too soft. Now with your needle tool, you're going to go ahead and reference the sketch that you did. As you can see, I have some design lines. In the center of my cross, I would like to do a star. So I'm just going to lightly sketch my lines so that I get an idea of where everything's going to go. I know that I want a border. I'm just quickly outlining the border. And because it's going to be a relief, I am going to be using my loop carving tool to carve out some each tool has a different shape. And so depending on where you want to carve is the side that you will use. Because I am carving out corners, I am going to use the squared side instead of the rounded side. Now the clay is still fairly soft, so I'm being very careful. I'm taking my time. Notice how I am taking out what I carve, taking out of it from my tool so that I can always have a clean start. I am also holding my cross with my other hand to give it support so that I don't accidentally manipulate my form as I'm trying to carve out. So because it's a relief, you will have to carve out some areas and sculpt some other areas. Okay, once you've got the majority cut out, you can go ahead and smooth out your edges. Remember, your craft is very important. Make sure you keep those extra pieces and set them aside, wrap them in a bag so they don't completely dry out. Then go ahead and grab your wooden modeling tools. You're going to see that they all come in different shapes and sizes. Pick the one that you think would work best for what you are trying to do. In this case, I picked a flat angled one so that it would be easier for me to smooth out in those corners. Those hard to get to places that my fingers cannot reach, I am using my tool for that. So I'm just smoothing out my corners, my edges. My clay is still very soft, so I need to be very careful. Now I'm getting ready to add and sculpt some elements on top of my cross. But I'm going to go ahead and set this clay aside because it's getting pretty dry and it's not going to work for me in this case. So I had some extra pieces from the slab that I cut out. It's still very soft. And I'm going to try to sculpt the star that I've created in the middle of my sketch. Once again, I map out where my star is going to go. And I decided to start out by rolling out a coil. Now, whenever you attach any element to your cross, you must slip and score. So I scored on my cross, and now I'm scoring on my I'm applying the coil right on top of the score lines. I'm smoothing it out. Next, in my sketch, I included some flowers. And so this is a very simple flower you can create with clay. And I'm going to show you how to do it. So you're going to begin by rolling out a small ball that you're going to pinch and flatten like I am doing here, as if it were one petal, except with using the back end of your needle tool, you're going to go ahead and add pressure in the middle, get another little ball, score it just to make sure it sticks, add a little bit of water or slip, and place it right in the middle. Then go ahead and dip your fingers in water and slightly pinch and pull out so you can thin out the petals. Flower petals are fairly paper thin, so you want to make sure that your petals aren't thick and cracking. Now here I'm just playing with the placement of my flowers, but I know I'm going to make more of them. I'm playing with texture. Now I'm going to go ahead and reference my sketch, and as you can see, I've added these little rays of light around my cross, which I'm going to sculpt. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this square, cut it in a diagonal. Now I'm getting 2 right triangles. That I will use to fit just like I did. I feel like I would like this piece to be a little thinner. So I'm gonna add 2 at the top. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this piece in half. It's a little too thick. I don't want it to be as thick as my borders. I want it to have more dimension. That looks better to me. Now I get that shadow line between the border of my cross and now this piece that I've added. And there you go. This is basically pretty rough draft of my Talavera cross. I plan on going back into it and spending a little bit more time on details, editing out some things, adding maybe some more texture, and planning out how I'm going to paint it. I think I'm going to go ahead and add more flowers and play with the movement of the flowers, maybe look into different types of flowers, but I would encourage you to get creative.